ready to wager talk today? I cannot believe how cold it is in Toronto, but this show is going to be smoking hot. Adam Trigger, Steve Merril, and Carmine Bianco. We're going to talk baseball, Astros, Cubs, Padres, Rockies. Steve Merril will look at 2 NBA games, Heat, Celtics, Pelicans, and Thunder. Time permitting, we'll take a glance at the Blue Jay Royals game. Carmine Bianco at the end of the show with Boston and Toronto, and Sheffield United playing Manchester United. Teddy Covers is my co-host. What's your big game breakdown?
Big game breakdown. We're going to talk Knicks Sixers series price, not game 3. We're going to talk about the full series price and what to do with that after New York's 2-0 lead. Should be an interesting discussion, I hope, when it comes to big game breakdown. And of course, we'll talk about the run of unders in the NBA postseason and what bettors learned. Lawrence?
Brother, I'm on the Knicks series price. Gave it out to my clients, so things are going well there. Other than that, let's get going. Adam Trigger joining us. And Adam, I hear you're as cold as I am.
Yeah, I mean, we get the same weather pretty much here. So, yeah, when it's cold up in Toronto, it's usually the same in Syracuse. I feel like this is like our 40th day of rain in the past 45 days. It rains every day here.
Yeah, I'll dispute that we're up, but I think we're pretty close to the same. What is it? Latitude, longitude, schmongitude.
I know for me to get to you, I would just go to Buffalo, go over that bridge, and then drive another hour. So
yeah, but you'd be driving. Right. There is a bit. It is slightly north. Anyway, let's get into it, my friend. Houston Astros playing the Cubs tonight. I swept yesterday in baseball again, second day in a row, and the Cubs' first 5 was one of my plays. Where do we go in this one today?
I mean, I love this Cubs team. I've come on here and talked about the Cubs a bunch. They are a team that I have a long-term position on in the NL this year. But I think this is a good spot for the Astros. This isn't going to make my client card, probably for that reason, just because I haven't been dying to fade the Cubs. But I think if you were going to sort of take a shot and also start to buy low on the Astros, I think you could do it here. The Astros are definitely a team I'm going to look to jump in with in the near future. I think injuries, specifically pitching injuries, have derailed them early this season. But also the bullpen's just been terrible. And for me, it's hard to believe that a bullpen with guys like Josh Hader, Ryan Presley, Brian Abreu, consistently pretty good big league relievers, is going to be this bad all season. So I do think you'll start to see the pitching come around, and it probably coincides with the pitching getting healthy as well. So that's why I kind of look at long-term going forward, where the Astros are now. They're not going to be 10 games under 500 in a month from now. So they're a team I definitely have on my sort of buy low, start to play, list. In this case, I like Houston's starter. So Spencer Arrighetti's going to get the ball here. It's going to be his 3rd big league start. I've watched a lot of him at the AAA level for Sugarland, and something I've really noticed with him is the strikeout stuff is fantastic. He's got to harness the command. He's walking about 1 batter per inning at the AAA level. It derailed him a little bit against the Royals, but his last start against the Braves I thought was pretty good. He was around the zone, pretty much the entire start, and he was supposed to pitch for Sugarland on Sunday. Ended up getting scratched to move him to start this game. I think the extra rest benefits him a little bit, and he's going to wipe someone out at some point. His swing and miss stuff is too good. At some point, this guy's going to have a wipeout start where he's really, lives around the zone and gives someone trouble, and that might be here. But at worst, the Cubs haven't seen him much, and I think he ends up pitching a pretty good game. And I pointed out the bullpen being the issue for the Astros, but they had the off day on Monday. And they didn't really need any of their top bullpen arms last night. And it's really been the depth that's killed them. So they have their better bullpen arms. And again, I listed them out earlier, and I expect those guys to have some positive going forward. All of this has hidden the Astros' ability to hit. The Astros record, this team is second in the American League behind the Orioles in WRC plus this year. They're 4th in baseball. they can still hit the ball. And I think that's really sort of been buried based on the win-loss record and the pitching issues so far this year. Another reason I think the Astros start to take a step forward. The Cubs are going to go with Taillon. He's good. He's fine. He really hasn't been tested yet this year. Pitched against St. Paul in AAA, not a great lineup. And then he got the Marlins last week. I thought he was relatively pedestrian in both, but neither have a good lineup. Here, you're going to get a big step up against an Astros lineup that, again, I think is very good. So I put all that together. This was like plus 102, even around even money. I think you're getting pretty good value on the Astros. And again, they're a team I'm going to be looking to bet. So this might be the spot to do it.
So, Houston, teams that are worse than Houston this year. You got the White Sox, you got the Marlins, you got the Rockies. That's it. You talked about the bullpen problems. You talked about the starting pitching problems. The RC Plus, I don't really understand because Houston hasn't hit all year. They scored 18 runs in the last 7 games, less every game. I don't look at this lineup and go, wow, they're about to break out. I look at this lineup and go, everybody's cold. Abreu's not hitting. Bregman's not hitting. The big bats aren't there. So I can see conceptually why a team that's been very, very good for a long time, we would expect them not to be 10, 11 games under 500 forever. But I haven't seen any signs from the Astros they're about to break out. Have you? Is there a buy sign today on Houston, or is this just in general, I think the Astros will probably be better than they are?
I guess the buy here for me would be more, the Cubs, being less familiar with Arrighetti, thinking he's got a good start coming. As far as the Astros offense is concerned, the underlying metrics are there. And then, of course, I think this is one team where you can go a little bit more historical, Teddy. Like, there's a large sample of guys like Bregman being great, Abreu being great. So, it parallels a little bit to last year. If you go back to last year after April, I don't think the win-loss record was this bad, but the Astros got off to a very slow start last year, through the first 5-6 weeks of the season. And they were right there, down the stretch as, in the mix in the American League, battling for a spot in that division. So, the other thing here with the Cubs, who have been excellent to start the year, which is something I did expect, but their pitching has I think has been deceptive a little bit. Like if I look at the bullpen numbers, their WAR, a stat I like to look at with the bullpens is 26th in the league, so minus 0.3. One of the worst, wins above replacement metrics for the bullpen in the National League. And Counsell's still moving around the relievers. Like he just, knocked Azalea out of the closer role. So, there might be a loss or two coming for the Cubs. Like in this spot, Taillon, knowing that he's not really like a wipeout starter at this point, I think the Astros might be able to get something off of him, and then they'll stack their top relievers after Arrighetti, and it should lead to a win here. So that's what I'm looking at in this game.
Adam Trigger joining us, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com. Adam, speaking about real crappy teams, the Colorado Rockies finally won a game. Congratulations to them. They've won 2 in their last 4, but other than that, they've won 2 in their last 10, 6-18 to start the year. They're playing the dead even 13-13 San Diego Padres. Minus 160 for the Padres. Is it worth still betting them?
I think it is. I love the Padres in this spot. I think minus 160 is actually pretty cheap. If you don't want minus 160, I think this is a spot where you could lay the 1.5. You're getting the road team. It's likely going to be a game that produces runs. So, yeah, I don't mind the Padres. Any way you want to slice it, you could split it and go -1, play half money line, half run line. That's a pretty reasonable price for that as well. Prez, great stat for you here. The Rockies have trailed in every single game this season. They're 6-18. They've trailed in all 24 games this year. And recently they have used a ton of bullpen. Their bullpen usage coming into yesterday was the highest of any team in the league in like the last 7 days. And of course they ended up with a lead yesterday. So they needed 5 bullpen innings again from, and use Bird and Lawrence, who are 2 of their better relievers. Now, Kyle Freeland, I don't know why he was running the bases last week, but he was, and he hurt himself. So now the Rockies are going to have to go with a bullpen game today. and it just doesn't set up for them to have success. It's probably going to be Ty Block that gets the start. He's been pretty good at Albuquerque as a starter, but it's very deceiving because this is as bad as the PCL has been in years from an offensive perspective. In my standpoint, there just aren't that many good lineups there. So it always was, well, if someone pitches well in the Pacific Coast League in AAA, it was a good sign because a lot of those parks have altitude, so on and so forth. But there just isn't great lineups down there this year. So I'll downgrade that a little bit. And he just threw on Monday. He threw an inning on Monday. So you're probably looking at 3 to 4 innings tops from him here. And then it's just going to be Rockies relievers that are either going to be tired Rockies relievers or guys at the back end of that bullpen for the rest of the game. And I think the Padres are better than their record. They're a team that I'm going to look to buy going forward. Obviously the Braves and the Dodgers are the class of the NL, but the Padres are sort of creeping up there for me as a team. I think is right with the Cubs in that like second tier. And I don't know that the win-loss record really reflects that yet. I like this lineup a lot. And Waldron, their starter, who, doesn't have great numbers. I think he's got they've lost all 4 of his starts. The Padres haven't hit for him at all. I don't think they've scored more than 2 runs anytime he's been on the mound. But I can assure you the Padres are going to hit under these circumstances, which are probably as favorable of a circumstances as this lineup has had for hitting, maybe all season. The Padres being behind last night, they didn't use their top relievers. So even if Waldron gets in trouble, they can stack their good bullpen arms behind him. I just think that this is a spot where the Padres offense probably gets right. You're probably going to get 8-9 runs from San Diego at some point, and I think they blow them out. So I'm fine with the -1.5, fine with the -160. I think you could split it to make a -1, but I'll be really surprised if the Padres don't bounce back with a win here.
So you and I take very different approaches to baseball, Adam, and that's why it's an interesting discussion when I have to ask you a follow-up question, because you look at things that I don't look at all, and I look at things that you don't look at all. But let me ask you this. You talked about the Padres. I mean, I guess what I want to ask you here is your opinion about the Padres. When I look at San Diego, I see a team that was lined as a 500 team, that's played 500 baseball. They're really not hitting. I mean, San Diego's offense has not gotten going yet. What do they have? I got them 16 runs their last 6 ball games, 5 or less every contest. Not like the lineup's going. It's not like we have a starting pitcher who's dominant. Not like we have a bullpen that we don't trust any bullpens at Coors. So I don't see any edges here to lay 160 with a team on the highway in this spot, except for I want to fade Colorado. So talk to me about your opinion of the Padres and why you're higher on San Diego than the markets are, or their results have shown so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just from looking at the record, 13-13, and they haven't hit. Well, I mean, look at who the Padres have had to play lately. They went from the road against the Giants, who, again, I think they're probably a little bit better than the record. They had to play the Cubs, went on the road to the Dodgers, played the Brewers, who are the hottest team on planet Earth, last week when they were playing them, played a Blue Jays team that I think is a real contender in the American League, very underrated, and faced some really good pitching in that series. And now they're getting to fade the Rockies or play the Rockies. So I think the Padres 13-13 start, and maybe the fact that they haven't hit of late is more based on the schedule kind of just stacking up not in their favor than it is this lineup not being able to hit. Because I look at this lineup just from from what we have seen and what we can expect, what I think we can expect out of these players. Tatis, Cronenworth, Xander Bogaerts. I like Ha-Seong Kim, who was awesome in KBO and has kind of turned into a really good MLB player. Merril, the young kid who has a huge upside. And I expect this lineup to do some damage at some point. So for me, I'm just willing to kind of buy the Padres right now, starting to play, a more favorable schedule. And Teddy, I mean, the pitching is going to be dreadful today for a Rockies team that really is a bad baseball team. So I think if you're worried about the price, just lay the -1.5. You're getting the full 9 at bats, and it's probably going to be a high total. So probably not the worst spot to lay the 1.5.
Adam Trigger, everybody. Adam, what do you have to promote?
I have one Major League Baseball play so far for today. It's in one of the day games. It's up on my page now. I think you should try that 3-day special that gets you the free day. It's probably the best value on the website for any handicapper right now. And yeah, that's it. If I decide to play one of these games, I'll post it. I imagine these will kind of stay in the lean category for me. But I do have one 4%er that goes this afternoon, and it's up on my page.
Awesome stuff. One guest down, 2 to go. Steve Merril after Teddy and I discuss what had bettors learn, and then Carmine Bianco. I got whoa, Teddy, I can't stop sneezing. It's been weeks. Anyway, whatever. Who cares? Nobody cares. Teddy, what did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
Before we talk about what everyone learned, what we learned in sports betting last night, I do want to let you guys know we're promoing for tomorrow, because tomorrow deserves some promoing. $5 customer appreciation day. That means $5 daily play packages site-wide at WagerTalk.com. Tomorrow, no coupon code needed, no limit to the number of packages you can buy. So check that out tomorrow. $5 daily play packages all over the site at WagerTalk.com. Now, let's talk a little NBA. And look, NBA unders again last night. 2-1 last night. 11-3 to the under in 14 playoff games so far. They went 4-2 to the under in 6 play-in games. So if you've done nothing but bet unders since the start of the postseason, you're 15-5 in the NBA. The low-hanging fruit of NBA playoff betting. Big bold letters in my notes, like last year. It says, look for unders, game 1, game 2. And yet somehow I haven't made any money with it yet. This isn't new. This isn't different. Especially in the modern, higher scoring NBA. We saw a dramatic crash to the unders in the first games last year, and we're seeing it again this year. So we're writing up the big game, what bettors learned. And then Prez calls me. Prez doesn't call me. He texts me. He calls me as I'm prepping what bettors learned. That was different. We'll talk about that perhaps tomorrow. Maybe midnight Eastern time. And Prez goes, "Can you believe these NBA unders?" Yes, Prez, I can. But by how much they're going under by? Yes, Prez. Why did you just blindly bet every game under? I know why. Because I'm an idiot and you're an idiot, and that's what we should have done. It's gone now, Lawrence. There you go, my friend.
Yeah, I'm not an idiot. Teddy's talking for himself. And, Teddy, I mean, the point I was making when I called you was just how under. I mean, we'll see a 217 and the game ends at 186 points. It's like a different sport. There's NBA regular season, and then there's a whole new sport reinvented when the playoffs start. My question to you is, how long will this continue for?
Not long. We've already seen the totals get adjusted downward. We've already seen the markets adjust. And the long-term data, Ralph showed it on his charts last week. The long-term data does not show game 1, game 2. This is a relatively recent phenomenon. Think about what NBA scoring has done since COVID. NBA, the games have been faster paced. The regular season games have gone over. You have teams like Indiana, playing at frenetic paces. You have teams like Washington not playing any defense. So regular season scoring in the NBA has consistently gone up for the last decade plus. Playoff scoring hasn't. So this adjustment in the first round, in the first few games, it was a significant adjustment. Last year, there was money made for unders. There's a significant adjustment this year. There's been money to be made for unders, but I don't think it's one of these deals you can just blindly play every under now. It is, right. However, next year, so help me. Game 1s, NBA playoffs, 4 games Saturday, 4 games Sunday, play under all 8. I swear. I thought about it this year and didn't. Just don't think about it. Play the unders. It's cashable. You'll make money with that strategy. I really think you will.
And this is why I think we have the best sports betting show on the planet. It's not only the picks with Adam and Steve and Carmine. It's also the information in between the lines. Steve Merril has something to add on NBA unders. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Something I wanted to point out, and I mentioned this the other night on the NBA tip-off show. And by the way, Joe Ranieri and I will be back at 4 o'clock Eastern today, breaking down both games live, taking viewer questions. So if you have questions on this, please interact with us. Let's not forget the last several seasons, we've seen more scoring, higher totals than ever in the NBA. And I think that's another reason why these are crashing into the under so much, because we've seen an over adjustment, no pun intended, in the lines the last year or so, including this season, more big totals than ever. And the playoffs are a different beast. And we saw this start after the All-Star break. The second half, the team started getting more serious. And it will take a little bit of a while to correct. And like Prez said, these aren't just going under, they're going under by margin. They do need to make pretty drastic adjustments. With that said, we don't just blindly play the under, but we also don't blindly play the over. Keep in mind, the betting market should be 50-50 long term, right? I mean, the overall NBA season should be 50-50, maybe 51-49 over-unders if the market is priced right. So I think we're going to see an equilibrium here. That's a big word. And I think it'll be 50-50 here over the next couple months. But that doesn't mean unders or overs are going to have an edge. We have to pick our spots still. And Ralph's charts do show that Game 7s have been strong underplays after round one, and that's because those are quality teams, and that is still something I'll look to use if the line is right, is when Class A teams are playing in focused spots. And the elimination games weren't exactly Class A teams, but those play-in games were obviously, elimination type. And we saw it also in the college basketball tournament. The conference finals have gone under more times than not. Ralph pointed that out last month when we were doing the college basketball show. So this isn't something new. I just think the lines have become so inflated over the last couple of years. That's why we've seen so many unders cash here in recent weeks.
Yeah, Steve Merril, everybody. Let's get straight into some actionable information. And we do have an update. Steve will not be discussing the Pelicans and Thunder, only the Heat and Celtics and the Blue Jays and Royals. And let's start with the Heat. Minus 14.5 tonight for Boston. And they covered this number by 6 last game, and really have just dominated this Miami team for a few years now. It's minus 14.5 here. Jimmy Butler out. A bunch of people. Teddy's freaking out. Did the lines move, Teddy? You're freaking out on me, Teddy.
You can't say that Boston's dominated Miami for the last 2 years when Miami beat them in the playoffs last year to go to the finals. You want to say something that actually makes some sense.
I apologize.
When you say stupid stuff,
okay.
I go,
Steve, how do we bet this game?
Celtics have dominated the Heat 7 of the last 8 meetings. So you're kind of right, Prez. It depends on what perspective you're looking at. It's all about perspective. Teddy and Prez often have very different perspectives. This is an interesting setup. We all know that Boston is the superior team. The question becomes, can Miami sneak in, not necessarily win a game, but can they even cover a game? It was a terrible spot for them in Game 1 the other day on Sunday afternoon. First of all, they were playing the back-to-back must-win games. Well, not the must-win, because they lost the semi-must-win, and then they had to win the game on Friday. Butler is out. They were shorthanded. They rallied at home on Friday night. And then, as Teddy said, the Heat beat the Celtics last year to go to the NBA Finals, and Boston was down 0-3 in that series, and then they rallied 1-3 straight and then lost Game 7 at home. The Celtics were coming to play. Revenge is often overused, but that was a huge revenge spot. They hammered them. They never trailed. They're up by 34. They won by 20. But I do think there could be a little bit of a regression, maybe a little bit of a letdown. And we have seen Boston do this in years, take their foot off the gas at times. And I think this might be the game where that happens. And the box score is very interesting as well, because if you look at it, yes, Boston led by 34, never trailed. Points in the paint, Miami was 44-24. The Miami Heat had a 20-point advantage, points in the paint, which really jumps out to you for a team that lost the game by 20. That means Boston was net 40 elsewhere, and the majority of that, of course, did come from the three-point line, where they were an incredible 22 for 49, 45%. They made 22 threes. Miami only made 12. So Boston was plus 30 points from three-point range and only won by 20. Now, I know they're a good three-point shooting team. They'll probably have the edge again tonight. But I think if there is a little bit of a flat spot, Miami can hang here. Now, we are kind of bucking historical trends here, and Ralph Michaels sent this over to me earlier today. Going into last season, since 2005, going into last year, round one favorites of 12 or more, these huge double-digit favorites, were 30-14 against the spread. But they went 0-3 against the spread last year. Maybe we're starting to see that trend change as well. So I'm willing to take a shot with Miami. By the way, I am doing a daily NBA video breaking down all the games every day for the entire playoffs, deep dive into this game and also that Pelicans and Thunder game, which we don't have time to get to here on the show today. But once again, I do think the Heat could maybe sneak within the number tonight.
So Boston's been really good, not just at winning, but at absolutely putting their foot down and destroying teams. As double-digit favorites since the last game before the All-Star break, I got them 9-4-1. So they've been really good at covering these double-digit numbers. Obviously, there's still playoff revenge. I don't think that was quenched by the Game 1 victory for the Boston Celtics. And Miami obviously is a shorthanded team right now. Do any of those factors concern you? Boston's success, Miami's shorthandedness, or the Celtics' mindset going into Game 2? Do any of those concern you when it comes to moving the needle for Miami plus the points in this one?
Oh, yeah, they're all concerns. That's exactly why this will not be a play for my clients tonight, for that exact reason. It's funny, Teddy, I do have a best bet on one of the totals tonight for my clients in one of the two games. I do have a strong best bet tonight. Also, 3 best bets tomorrow on Thursday already loaded. So I've actually got 4 NBA playoff best bets for Wednesday and Thursday ready for my clients. This will not be one of the games I'm using a side selection in. In fact, I was pretty neutral on it, but when I did the deep dive, and one of the reasons, by the way, the playoffs are off to a fantastic start. Oh, by the way, 5-0 sweep since the playoffs began on Saturday. We cashed again last night, is because I am breaking down every single game every day in that daily videos I mentioned here on WagerTalk TV. And the more I dug into this last night doing the video, I did start leaning Miami. I could see Boston maybe taking their foot off a little bit here, off the gas. I know they still have that playoff revenge, but I think the spot was Game 1. And let's not forget, Boston's going to probably win this game. They're a 14.5-point favorite. I just think if Miami has a spot to cover, this is going to be as big as any line, most likely. And it's probably maybe the one spot Boston won't be fully focused. And I do like the fact Miami outscored them by 20 points in the paint. That was actually kind of the thing that moved this to a lean for me, for being completely neutral. The more I dug into it and saw that edge, I was like, you know what? That was an extreme outlier for Boston from 3. Yes, it could happen again, but I'm willing to bet it probably doesn't, which gives Miami a slight edge.
Steve Merril joining us. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, hit that like button, please. It takes 1 second out of your day. We also got to 150,000 followers yesterday, so greatly appreciated. That's a big number, and we're super proud of it. If you guys have not subscribed to our channel, please do so. We have incredible content from Puck Time, which is our leading NHL show, to WagerTalk Today. We've got baseball shows, NBA shows, and we also are now doing a lot of short videos. Drew Martin's MLB video has been very well received. And Teddy, you do an opening line report on a daily basis, right?
Yeah, we just started doing that last week. Did one again this morning. Each and every day I'm doing it 7 a.m., bright and early here in Las Vegas. You get a little Teddy Unfiltered. Again, it's a quick hitter video in the 8 to 12 minute range each and every day. You can check it out on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, or you can get the links. Obviously, follow me on Twitter at Teddy_covers.
Yeah, and I'm doing the penalty box segment every day, which is very well received. And also, frankly, it's where I give away free money. Steve, what are you doing video-wise? What do you have for our clients? And we'll get to your baseball game.
Yeah, once again, a daily NBA playoff preview. I'm breaking down every playoff game every day for the next 2 months through the finals. And not only is it free content on every single game, I'm giving a lot of player props, by the way, and go check it out. I have that Miami Heat Boston game. I lean Miami. I also mentioned the total in the video, but also have some player props, also the Pelicans Thunder. And the player props are actually doing really well. You know, we talk about the zigzag with sides and totals. I'm looking to zigzag with player props. And we had D'Angelo Russell in game 2 for the Lakers the other night. He had 6 threes like early on in the game and went over on his own. So there's a lot of great free content and plays I like that aren't necessarily making my best bet cards. So great content there. Hit subscribe, hit the bell as well, so you know when those videos go up each and every day of the NBA playoffs. And once again, the deep dive analysis I'm doing is serving my best bets well. Also 5-0 sweep since the NBA began playoffs on Saturday. Also 3-0 in baseball. So 8-0, perfect 8-0 since Saturday in all sports for best bets at WagerTalk.com.
There we go, everybody. Steve, Toronto, Kansas City, and, one really bad error by Vlad last night, and Toronto could have won again. Now they've got their new pitcher on the mound, Yariel Rodriguez, who's really played well this year. It's minus 120 for the road Blue Jays. Where are we going here?
Yeah, I like Rodriguez. In fact, last Friday on the MLB show, I gave out Toronto as a pick 'em against San Diego, and I just love the pitching matchup there. In fact, I used a first 5 inning because it was really a pitching matchup for me. Rodriguez remains a very underrated up-and-comer from Cuba. Waldron was going for the Padres, a journeyman. He was forced to make the start as the 5th guy because Darvish was on the IR. He was a knuckleballer, and Toronto was up 5-1 early in that game, ended up winning 5-1, so the first 5's cash. But what I pointed out about Rodriguez was he got come Cuba. He's been over in the Asian Baseball League for a while. He really wasn't dominant, but it looks like he's figured stuff out. He's a 27-year-old, throws up to 100 miles an hour, hard thrower. I think that's always difficult for new lineups to see for the first or second time. So I will continue to ride Rodriguez. Maybe the MLB guys catch up to him when they start getting more familiar. He was in the minors very short. I think he went like 2 starts this year, did not give up an earned run, had numerous strikeouts. And so far in his first 2 starts in the MLB for Toronto this month, 13 strikeouts in just 7.5 innings pitched. So he is a fireballer, and I think he will have success tonight against Kansas City. Meanwhile, Marsh goes for Kansas City, another guy that Toronto's not too familiar with. Marsh had a nice outing against Baltimore in his last start last Friday as well. No earned runs, only 3 hits. So 2 young pitchers, I think, that can bring it tonight. I do like Toronto with Rodriguez here in the near future, but would not be opposed to the under as well in this game. It opened 9, though. Sharp money bumped it down to 8.5. I do agree with that move to the under as well.
Sure, we've seen the sharp money come for Toronto as well. Blue Jays were minus 115, even as low as minus 110 at the open. Now, looking at the WagerTalk Live odds screen, I'm seeing the Blue Jays as high as minus 135. I call the prevailing number minus 130. Is there still value on the Toronto side after the line move in their favor this morning, Steve?
Yeah, it's tricky, Teddy. Baseball is such a different sport than basketball and football when we're doing these daily shows, right? Because we're given a pick on a single game out of a 162-game season. So the line doesn't matter at all. If Toronto wins, people win their bets. But if you're taking a serious long-term investment approach like I am, like you are, like I do for my clients, that's what kept this off my best bet card, is that I'm not willing to give up 25 or 30 cents in a price over the 162-game season. So I still like Toronto. I think they win this game, but I do think the line is getting closer to where it should be. I made it around 140, 145. So not quite enough value now for a best bet, but still a game I think Toronto wins. And bigger picture, Rodriguez remains underrated here in the near future.
Steve, you killed it, man, like always. Now go get some sun, would you?
Yeah, I swear, this is a very bright light on me is why I look pale. I got a lot of sun this weekend, my man, and baseball season is here on the East Coast. Nice weather. We're seeing it well. 2 best bets tonight. Actually, 1 best bet, basketball, 3 tomorrow. Free baseball play, bonus free play also on my page right now. Check out that free nighttime baseball game, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Best of luck with your allergies, buddy. You should probably stay indoors.
No, I'm going to go get some sun. I'm actually golfing on Sunday. The golf season begins. Teddy covers. I'm excited for your big game breakdown. Before we get into that, I just want to make mention to everyone. Teddy and I every single day are putting up a combination package, his NBA playoffs, my NHL playoffs. Last night we had a winning night. And we did have a rough go at the beginning, but I think that we've sorted that out and about to get on a nice little run. So head over to either Teddy's page or my page. You can get his 1 NBA play and my 2 NHL bets. They're all there for you. Thanks for joining us. My brother, let's go. Big game breakdown, Teddy covers style.
Yeah. We did go 3-0 across sports last night. 1 NBA winner and 2 in MLB. See if we can do it again this evening. Let's talk the Philadelphia 76ers and the New York Knicks with today's big game breakdown. But I'm not talking game 3. I'm talking series price. And I posted this last night, and Philly was plus 375, plus 380 you could find around. Yeah, well, this morning, the wise guys are thinking what I'm thinking. You can still find plus 360 out there, but more like plus 350, plus 330. Philadelphia, the markets are telling us they are still very live to win this series, especially when we look at other teams down 0-2 returning home. Orlando, they're 6-1 dogs, 7-1 dogs, not Philadelphia. And that tells us something about what the markets think about this series. Now, look, first, The Knicks haven't done a whole lot of this. The first time they've led 2-0 in a playoff series since 2013. The Knicks certainly got the benefits of some insanity in the final minute. The crowd was huge at Madison Square Garden, really helped New York. But I don't know how much it helps them moving forward. With Embiid, Philadelphia 31-10 straight up. That includes the first 2 playoff losses. Without him, they went 16-27. Since he started playing in April after sitting for a couple of months, Sixers 6-2 straight up, 6-2 ATS with him in the lineup. It's not like Philly can't win in the postseason. They won their first round series last year. They won their first round series in 2022. And the Knicks, for all the success they've had in this series, I grade these 2 teams out and say Philly's every bit as good, if not better. Here's what Joel Embiid said, quote, "We're going to win this series. We know what we've got to fix, and we did a better job today, so we're going to fix it. We're the better team. We're going to keep fighting." I agree with his assessment. So do the markets. Philly still live to win the series. Buy low. Now's the time if you want the Sixers at the big plus price to beat the New York Knickerbockers. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy, I'm going to the game tonight. Carmine Bianco joining us. He knows where I'm sitting, and I'm excited, dude. I'm taking my dad. My dad calls me up, and he goes, Lolly. That's what he calls me. By the way, that's what my daughter calls me too, Teddy. I'm not dad anymore. I'm Lolly. Anyway, you can make fun of it. I actually think it's a cute name. And when I'm going to be a grandfather in the next, hopefully 9 months, I'm going to go by Lolly. That's going to be my granddad name. What about you, Teddy? Have you thought of your granddad name yet?
I'll be dead by then, Lawrence.
Oh, God. Okay.
Oh, you won't.
Yeah. I mean, just wow. Okay. Carmine Bianco, we have a big game in Toronto tonight. Game 3. I think who wins this game wins the series, unless the Leafs lose this game. You like over the total. It's 6. Why is it 6? I'm confused. And you have a prop bet for us. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, it's 6 for a reason. If you look at the way the first couple of games have been played, one has gone one has gone over the 5.5. One stayed under the 5.5 in a 3-2 finish. A missed empty netter. That one goes over as well too. But you look at the expected goal numbers in the first one, and in both games, the expected goal numbers have favored the Leafs. 4.54 to 3.7. So basically 8.24 expected goals in game 1. Leafs lose that game 5-1. And it was a game in which the Leafs played extremely well. They just continued to shoot themselves in the foot offensively, couldn't finish. And on the back end, the Bruins took advantage of every single chance they got with a little bit of probably weak goaltending from Samsonov, but he's been good nonetheless. He bounced back in game 2, and the numbers in that one, 361 to 251 in the Leafs' favor once again, 6.12. And this is one now the venue switches to Toronto. The Leafs get the last change as the home team, which is a big difference because you get the Matthews line out there against in favorable matchups. And we could see the return of William Nylander. He was at the morning skate this morning. He actually stayed after the morning skate and skated with some of the guys who are going to get scratched. But he was on the line with Holmberg and Yarnrock this morning in the morning skate. Matthews didn't take part in the morning skate, but that's Yarnrock. Jar and Yarnrock. It's pronounced Yarnrock. Anyways, Matthews didn't practice this morning, but that's it's more of I think a maintenance day for him. They put Roberts in sort of a placeholder spot on his line. Nylander's a big part of the team as well, too, but he's going to be a game-time decision, so there's no idea whether he'll play or not. I suspect we could see Marner move to the number 1 line with Matthews because they need to get him going as well, too. And you're correct. This is a big game for the Leafs. The game 3 is huge in this one, and I think if the Leafs win game 3, it puts all the pressure on the Bruins not to fall behind in game 4 and head home down 3-1. the Leafs need to win this game, but I think the total is the better play here. And even at 6, I would take the over in this one. If it lands on 6, then so be it. It's a push. We live with it and we move on. But I like that one.
Yeah.
And the Marner one, I think he gets if he gets moved to number 1 line, his shot prop is at 2.5 plus 105. And I like the over in that one as well, too, just because of the line matchups and having the last change on the ice.
We've got Premier League soccer on tap for today. This one, what is that? Noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time, when they drop the ball on the pitch. And we're going to talk some Sheffield United versus Manchester United. And boy, this is a big favorite. Certainly when you look at the three-way lines, minus 335, minus 350 up as high for Man U. For Sheffield, I'm seeing plus 750s out there. Total 3.5. Is this one where we would want to lay a price, take a price, or maybe look at an alternate way of betting? Talk to me, Premier League soccer.
Definitely an alternate way of betting, because I normally will not lay a price like that, Teddy. But Teddy, to answer a question that you had for me earlier, your son, I believe, is into music, and he talked about Sheffield United. 2 of their biggest fans, Joe Elliott, Def Leppard, could be him, or it could be Flea of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So if he's a fan of those music groups, they are big Sheffield United fans. I don't see it going well for Sheffield today. The handicap on this game is minus 1.5. Man United come off a penalty win in the FA Cup semifinals on the weekend against Coventry, to now advance to the finals. It's an all Manchester FA Cup final, and they currently sit in, I believe, 7th place right now on 50 points. And it is big for Man United not to drop any more points, because the first thing is they are not in a spot for Europe next season. The second thing is the FA Cup winner gets an automatic berth into the Europa League next year. But if you're already qualified into Champions League, which Man City, who they play against, likely will win, it goes to the next team in order of the EPL standings. And if United can continue to win their games, they will be that team. So these are big games. You look at Sheffield United, only 1 win on the road this season. That was against Luton, who are in 17th, also in a relegation spot, or 18th spot. And their games against top 10 teams. Man City, they lose 2-0 on the road. Arsenal, 5-0 on the road. Liverpool, 3-1. Tottenham, 2-1. West Ham, 2-0. Chelsea, 2-0. They've been outscored 16-2 against top 10 teams. One of the 2 goals scored was an own goal. So they've actually only scored 1 goal on the road this season. I will take United, lay the 1.5 in this one, and look for them to get there.
Carmine Bianco! Dude, outstanding work, but more importantly, you've got yourself a big night lined up. Guys, Carmine's got a 5% play in the NHL. It has been presidentially approved. Carmine has won 7 of his last 9 NHL 5% plays. He's also the number 1 NHL handicapper since the start of this calendar year. Absolutely rolling, Carm. Up 37 units of profit since January 1st. Everybody knows that you know NHL. This is a big play, a must-bet play. So head over to Carm's page and get it ASAP. Did I do you justice, or would you like to add something?
No, that is it. I appreciate you guys having me on, and thanks to everyone tuning in to watch.
There we go. My kid doesn't stop texting me in the middle of my shows. Nobody listens to me, Teddy. My mother calls me during the shows. My dad, my kids, Vivian texts. Okay.
Time out. You want to solve that problem?
Turn my phone
People sometimes
off.
call me or text me or whatever. Don't ever pick up your phone during the show. And guess what? People stop calling you. People stop texting you. Don't respond to their text during the show. Instead,
I
pay
do
attention
respond.
to the guests. You spend the whole time. I see you typing and the typing. And
Dude,
typing
I
and
got an
typing.
issue, man. Honestly, I got issues. Like, you and I and a lot of our listeners were lucky enough to see the world before cell phones. So we have that sort of understanding. I'm going to tell you flat out, I'm addicted to my phone. When I'm in the throes of passion and my phone buzzes, which is likely most of the time I can't continue. I got to check who texted. I'm watching a movie. I got to check who texted. I'm eating dinner. I need help. I need help. I admit it. I can't do anything about it. And I'm too old to try to change. I'm just going to bask in the idiocy known as the Prez. Yeah? You want to add something?
Are we done yet, or do you have something you still want to talk about?
It's time for the penalty box segment, everybody. Let's go. Okay, I'm going to make this super easy. I got 3 bets for you all tonight, and all 3 are the over. We got Toronto playing Boston tonight. The total, you can find 5.5, 6. I think this game is a high-scoring game. Look, if you've watched this game, this series closely, Toronto has had an unbelievable amount of chances, and they've really been snake bitten. I think Toronto breaks out tonight, and I think especially if Nylander plays, because that changes the entire lineup of this team. It gives them 2 rock-solid forward lines, almost an impossible task to defend against. They're coming at home. They have the last change on the ice, which will get Matthews away from McAvoy, and will create some scoring opportunities. Toronto's not great on defense. Samsonov played outstanding in game 2, but he's not some world beater. I could see this game going over, and I could also see this game going to overtime, 3-3. So I would not be against you guys putting a small wager on overtime. I'm going to the game, so 3 overtime sounds divine to me, a whole lot of drama. Next up is Dallas and Vegas, and we played the over. I gave this out on the penalty box segment last time they played, and I'm going to take Dallas over every time they play at home. Vegas won last game and put up a historically low amount of shots. I think we see a much better game by Vegas tonight, even though they won last game. And I think Dallas gets their goals. I don't buy Vegas's goaltending situation right now, and I don't buy Ottinger in net for Dallas. So I'm looking at this game at 5.5, 6. I think we get way over the total. I think we get 7 to 9 goals tonight in this matchup. And lastly, we got Edmonton against the LA Kings. Now, I made a mistake giving out the under in their last matchup, and I kicked myself. It was a 7-4, and I look at this and I think, okay, man, Edmonton's putting up at least 4 goals every single time they play this LA Kings team. This LA Kings team is one of the slowest teams in all of hockey. Edmonton is the fastest team in hockey. So imagine LA's game plan. They're sitting around, they've played Edmonton 2 playoff series in a row, and they have to contain Connor McDavid. So they build this whole game plan around containing Connor McDavid, and he goes out there and puts up 5 assists. He's in whatever. He cannot be contained. This is going over the total. Take all 3 games over the total. And guys, I have 3 NHL bets up for my clients tonight. I'm also killing it in baseball on a 6-0 run. Up units on the season. I have 2 baseball bets, and I won my NBA 4% last night, and I have 1 NBA bet. Head over to WagerTalk, grab them all. That's the penalty box segment. Go Leafs, go. Thanks for watching. Teddy, you're rushing me during. You're rushing
best of luck
me.
with your
Do I rush
We'll
you
be back
during your
again
big
tomorrow.
game breakdown?
Same
Do
time,
I
same
rush
channel
you?
on WagerTalk Today.